And we do have a quorum. The only missing member is Mr. Noax, and he is out of state tonight. First order is we'll approve the minutes of the July 20, 2021 meeting.
I move we approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, a second. And a second, is there any discussion? All in favor? And it's unanimous. Oh, Lonnie, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Did you vote yes? Yes. Okay, I wasn't looking, sorry. So it is unanimous, minutes are approved. Tonight we have two public hearings. The way we'll go through these, we'll start with the first one. We'll hear the staff report. We'll hear from the applicant. We'll hear from supporters of the applicant. We'll hear from any opposition. We'll allow the applicant time for a rebuttal to the opposition. Once everyone's had a chance, we'll declare the public portion of the hearing closed, and we'll have deliberation from the board. One thing, when you do speak and address the board, please go to the podium, state your name and address, and I'll ask you to promise that your testimony is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge. The first public hearing is Ridgefield LLC has applied for a variance on a property containing 11.772 acres located at 2900 South Danville Bypass, Danville, Kentucky. The property is zoned Highway Business HB.
Yep.
So,
I'll go
Steve?
ahead and start, and I believe the firm's here, Vision is here, so they might want to add some things in. This is a kind of a unique variance, and again, a lot of these pictures that are up on the screen are in your packet, so won't have to spin around if you don't need to. I think you guys all know what Ridgefield Shopping Center is, and there's the zoning map. But I want to point out a couple particular things. What has happened is this shopping center sold at some point and was in the process of being sold again, and an ALTA survey was being done on the property. There's a couple outlots, but you know what's belongs to the shopping center versus the Aspen Dental building and the bank. There's some different lots. What had happened over time was, and this is before I came to the community, but we all know where Skywatch Drive is. In fact, on this area, you see it still labeled down here. And I guess back in the day, the road maybe became a different configuration through the shopping center. And in 2016, the city, by resolution, rerouted this road where I believe it comes up in front of Tractor Supply and then it kind of turns down through a parking stall, and Skywatch now kind of does something like this. Well, in doing so, when the survey was done as part of one of these property sales, it showed that basically the building no longer met the front setback, because now that the street is here, this building no longer meets the 25-foot front setback as opposed to when the street was down here. So this is really a cleanup project. The variance request is to deal with the front setback, not meeting the front setback, as well as the rear setback due to a little bit of a building that creeps out into the rear setback. So as part of the ALTA survey that caught that, the new property owner and the survey engineering firm decided the best course of action was to apply for a variance to bring these things into compliance, so the new property owner has everything 100% in compliance with the zoning ordinance as far as the front and rear setbacks. Your staff report has a lot of that stuff spelled out on page 2 and 3, and there's a chart in the staff report, again, that looks like this, that shows you the highway business setbacks. But what it doesn't show you, there's also an additional setback that's down at the bottom of that chart in your staff report, that when you're adjacent to residential, the setbacks actually increase because you're adjacent to residential. So highway business shows a 25-foot 000, but when you're adjacent to residential, the setbacks actually change slightly. So those are the setbacks that are being applied for. And again, basically what the applicant's requesting is to reduce the front yard setback from Skywatch from 25 to 10, which is basically what the building sets right now, the front of Tractor Supply, and to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 foot to 10 to comply with the commercial standards adjacent to a residential development. This is the technical drawing that the firm did, and again, it shows the variances, the exact location of those variances that are needed, basically back in this corner and the front corner of the Tractor Supply building is what now encroaches into the setback. This shows the new road alignment, that now this is Skywatch Drive, and this is now just part of these lots in the travelway. So again, at some point, everything met the setbacks when the road was here. When it was realigned, the building became non-conforming for the front setback. It happened in 2016, I believe. The rest of your staff report has the review criteria for a variance, conditions, if you guys saw fit to put conditions on variances, you have that authority, and it's referenced in the staff report. There were no staff items of concern, and again, the findings and requirements under the state law are also in your staff report, as well as a kind of cookie-cutter motion up or down for the variance request is also the last page of your staff report, and our attorney can help you with the motion if you guys get to that point. And again, the applicant's represented by their survey engineering firm here, and can maybe do a better job than me explaining the need for some of these things and what occurred with the sale of the shopping center.
You through?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. And I assume you're speaking in support of the applicant?
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Okay.
So for the record, my name is Jihad Hallani. I'm with Vision Engineering. We have been working with Steve on this. We are in agreement with the staff, and has been very instrumental and helpful to us to kind of figure out the best course of action to proceed. So we just want to thank him, and if you have any question, we'll be glad to answer it.
Does the board have any questions for the applicant? Hearing none.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the applicant? Anyone in opposition to the applicant? Hearing none, we'll close the public portion of the hearing and move into deliberation. Agree. Okay. Hearing no discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve. And Henry, would you help us with a motion?
Mr. McGuire, I'd suggest that we just add to the staff prepared motion that there will be no adverse effects or change to the essential character. Rather, amending the setbacks will be in order to conform to road realignment in the existing footprint.
Okay, and I understand that to be Mr. McGuire's motion? In it? Okay. And is there a second? And Mr. Sedler on seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Our second hearing tonight, Kendall and Friends Foundation Incorporated have applied for a conditional use permit on the property containing 4.796 acres located at 0 Shakertown Road, Danville, Kentucky. The property is zoned agricultural, AG. Mr. Hunter?
All right. I think we're still waiting on the property owner. Oh, he's here. Okay, yeah. All these masks are throwing me off. So the applicant's over here, and the property owner is over in the other corner. We had an application filed on August 31st, 2021, and the applicant is Kendall and Friends Foundation Incorporated, and the property owner is Josh Pingleton that's sitting back here in the corner. And the location you heard, 0 Shakertown Road. If you look at the map there up on the screen, you can see that property is right here. It's just inside this is the city limits line here in kind of this red color. This is Danville Christian. So that agricultural tract that's a tad bit under 5 acres is in this location, right next, just on the north side of the radio station. The property is zoned agriculture, and the property size is 4.796 acres. And again, the road is Highway 33, or as we know it, Shakertown Road. And the applicants are asking for a conditional use permit to develop a community service facility in the agricultural zoning district. And with that, this is kind of a close-up. That's actually the zoning map and looks all green, but that's actually the zoning layer. It's all zoned agriculture. This is a more zoomed-out shot of the zoning map again. And might note the school is also zoned agriculture across the road. This is the chart that's in the zoning ordinance, and that's on page 2 of your staff report. This is the chart that shows all the zoning districts, and there are certain institutional uses. Here's community service, here's a daycare, there's parks, there's churches. There are things you can do in the agricultural zone, some by right and some with a conditional use permit. There's other districts, as you know, you can do things under commercial zoning. The community services category is a CUP option in the ag district, CUP in some residential zones, and it becomes a permitted by right when you get to commercial zones. So when the applicant came into the office and described what they do and what their plan is to develop on the property, the option became clear. They could either do it as a conditional use request before this board in the ag zone, or they could go to a more extensive process, which would be to rezone the property commercial, go through multiple steps through P&Z and the city. Their goal was to keep it in the agricultural zone and do the CUP kind of to tie in with some of the goals of their project, and we'll let them explain that. To go a little further, and this is not in your staff report, this is what community services are as they're outlined in Article 5 of the zoning ordinance. They give every use that's in that chart, going backwards here again, every single use in the chart, if you use the zoning ordinance daily, then it's described in Article 5 in a way of characteristics, accessory uses, then examples and exceptions. And you can see that right there under kind of characteristics, community services can be public, nonprofit, or charitable nature. They can provide local service. Again, it just talks generally what they are, and then what the accessory uses might include, which could be food areas, parking, health, therapy, athletic facilities. And then there's examples that we would know them in kind of real-life terms for public or nonprofit uses: libraries, museums, senior centers, community centers, swimming pools, youth club facilities, hospices, social service, temporary shelters, and it says vocational training for persons with physical or mental disabilities, and cemeteries and some other things. So basically what this Kendall and Friends Foundation is, and what they're proposing to do, and again, I want to let them speak, when they came in and explained to the staff what they were wanting to do, is what they told us is they're an all-inclusive center for special needs kids. That's the term they use, that's kind of the phrasing, and what they would want to develop is a facility on this property to serve special needs kids, mostly in athletic type uses, therapeutic uses, playgrounds, sports facilities, et cetera. That's kind of the exhibit that Vantage Engineering did for the property to show the technical aspects that you guys are used to seeing on a CUP. And then the applicant has been working with an architect, and this is a conceptual drawing of what the building would be on the property. Sports fields that are designed to accommodate kids with different needs. And these are pictures from other communities. And at your seat was a detailed handout that the group put together on, it's kind of really part of a grant proposal that they're working on, or business plan that has a lot more detail in about these facilities and some of the costs. But this is kind of examples of what would be developed on the property, playground options, et cetera. So we only put a few things in your packet. There's several slides up here, and the applicants got a lot to kind of go over with you, and so again, we want to leave some of that for them. But we'll leave this exhibit up because that's kind of the detailed plan that shows the buildings, the parking, in the 4.7 plus acre tract. So with that, I'll turn back to the staff report on page 3. We have defined terms at the top of page 3 related to conditional use permits. At the bottom of page 3, as you know, a conditional use permit is, as it sounds, it's conditional on the property, and it typically has commitments or standards or conditions that the applicant puts forward as a starting point with this board to make you understand the scale or the size of the proposed use. And the applicant put together a pretty good list of conditions here that start on page 3 and run on page 4, and I'll read those for you here. The first Condition that was submitted as part of the application is the applicant agrees that the use of the property be limited to community service facility, obviously as outlined in Article 5 of the zoning ordinance. Kind of cookie cutter in nature, but it's kind of the catch-all to say can't be anything more than what the zoning ordinance allows as a community facility for this property. And again, their technical term is an inclusive center for special needs kids. Number 2 says the applicant agrees to provide no more than 25% lot coverage throughout the property. It really deals with the building and parking and that nature. Again, that stays within the agricultural use standards of the zoning ordinance. 3 says no new building or structures will be installed within 25 feet of any adjacent property line. Again, the ag district's looser than that. That's a stricter standard, saying they'll stay further away from their property lines than what the ag zone currently allows. 4 deals with the building and kind of says that the total building area will not exceed 25,000 square feet, and no building shall be more than 2 stories. There's a little bit of wiggle room there. If you look at the exhibit there, you can see the square footage of the first building and the proposed building. Things would be built in phases. And again, the building, due to its kind of design and style, they made a comment that it would not exceed 2 stories, but actually inside it's going to be kind of an open span building inside for athletic activities. But clearly it's a taller building when you look at it from kind of the outside facade. 5 deals with signage, and the applicant agreed to 1 monument sign not to exceed 10 feet in height, 64 square feet shall be located. So it's fairly minimal signage as opposed to a more intense commercial use. All parking areas shall be paved as outlined in number 6. That's not a requirement in the ag district, by the way. That's something the applicant's committing to make the property function a certain way. CUPs in the ag district get to follow the ag standards. So we allow gravel and other materials in the ag district if you were doing, again, there's a handful of uses you do in the ag district. For example, like a church. A church would have the option to pave or do gravel because they're in the ag zone. They're committing to it. All parking areas would be paved in number 6. Property access is dealt with in number 7, limited to just 1 access point on Shakertown Road to be coordinated with the KDOT folks. This is a Kentucky highway and all jurisdiction for the access, and the access point falls to the state and would be coordinated with the state. 8 says all new and expanded utility lines would be located underground, and that the property shall be connected to sewer. And 9 is just a catch-all that the staff asked to be put in, that the property be developed in compliance with the subregs of Bull County if applicable. They're really not applicable at this point, but if the property was subdivided further in the future, we just want to make sure they'd be following all the subreg standards if they did apply. That's pretty much the applicant's conditions. And again, the conceptual exhibits are in your staff report. Page 7 is the review criteria that we use under the zoning ordinance. Page 8, we outline the findings required that this board has to make to approve a conditional use permit. Bottom of page 8, you can see there were no staff items of concern. And then page 9, again, is a motion up or down that is there for your starting point when you guys get to the discussion of an approval or disapproval, and our attorney can help you wordsmith those motions as we see fit. Again, the applicant's here and the property owner's here, and they may want to add some additional detail about the facility, how they operate. I didn't do a very good job on what they're about or what they do. It's a pretty amazing operation they're running with these facilities, and they spend a lot of time with the staff talking to us about other communities they've done some facilities in, and I didn't really go through some of that, so I'll again let them maybe get up and tell you a little bit about what they are and what they plan to do. And again, you have a handout at your seat that was fairly detailed in that realm of operations and that type of stuff. So with that, I'll stop. I'll be glad to answer any questions the board may have of the staff. And again, the applicant's here, Vantage Engineering's here, if you guys have any more technical questions on that nature.
Okay, would the applicants like to speak? And I'll remind you to state your name, address, and promise that your testimony is accurate and true to the best of your knowledge.
I need a stool. It's way too short. My name is Crimson Claycomb. My address is 399 Paradise Camp Road in Harrodsburg. And what else am I supposed to say? Oh, that everything I'm saying is true, 100% true. Sorry.
Thank you.
So to talk a little bit about Kendall and Friends and who we are and what we do, I have a child that was born completely normal, nothing wrong with her, and at 3 weeks old, she contracted meningitis. And for those of you that don't understand that virus, it's very, very deathly. She had a 2% chance of living, and we were told that if she did live, that she would be nothing more than a vegetable for the rest of her life and living off of machines. So we knew that Kendall was going to be a lot more than that, and she has been. And I'm very thankful to say that November 23rd of this year, she will actually turn 11. She's very, very happy. She's a great kid, and we have a lot of community support for her. So my entire goal with her was she needed to be raised that she was normal. So she actually thinks that she is normal and all of us are different. And that's the way we like it. Kendall is actually in a wheelchair. She's nonverbal. She has 7 brain tumors. She's partially blind in both eyes, but she literally smiles all the time. She's super happy, super fun, and we wouldn't change her for anything. But Kendall, like I said, Kendall has been raised and she's been mainstreamed in her education, where she is not in a special ed classroom all day long. She goes to school with her peers, with her friends. And I did everything with Kendall that her friends did. So if Kendall went, or if her friends went on a field trip, Kendall went on a field trip. And we live very close to Anderson Dean Park, so a lot of our community field trips were there. And I would get Kendall out of her, she does not know what a wheelchair is because she drives a Harley. So she rides in a motorcycle all day long. So I would get her out of her motorcycle and I would pack her through the playground. And obviously I'm not a very big person, but when Kendall was in kindergarten, we went on a field trip and I got her out. And I'm playing with her, packing her up and down the playground, and I tripped and fell with her. And it freaked me out. I was so nervous. I thought I'd hurt my baby. I was crying and upset, and I told her, Kendall, I can't do this anymore. And she thought she was in trouble. She thought she did something wrong. She didn't understand that Mommy was not trying to punish her and take her playtime away. So I took her and a little group of friends, and we went walking around the track at Anderson Dean, and we all started talking about how we needed to build a playground that Kendall could play on. So we went back to school that day, and all of our students in that classroom literally sat all day long drawing what they wanted Kendall's playground to look like. So as you can imagine, I'm sure, like we had little race tracks and everything else on there, but it was a very beautiful thing to witness. So the very next day, I set out on this journey to build an all-inclusive playground. So I contacted a couple of playground companies, and 5 months and 22 days later, myself, my partner Josh, and a group of friends had fundraised about $300,000 to build what is Kendall and Friends Playground at Anderson Dean Park in Harrodsburg. And we quickly realized that there are so many individuals that don't have opportunities like this. So we were contacted by all of these different cities and counties throughout the state wanting our help to help them become more inclusive. So as of now, we have 9 fully, lost track because we were busy, but we have 9 fully inclusive playgrounds all around the state. It's just something that you don't understand the need until you do it and see how many people come to use it, because you don't usually see 400 special needs kids at one place because we don't have a lot of things that are designed specifically for them. So Kendall is, like I said, she's in a wheelchair, she's nonverbal, she's partially blind, she can't even scratch her own nose if it itches. So we do everything for her. She is 100% total care. And we are very blessed within various communities that have adult day programs, but Kendall would never qualify for anything like that because she's not potty trained, she can't feed herself, she can't push her own wheelchair. So basically, when Kendall's not in school or when she graduates school, Kendall is going to be sitting at home with mom or dad or whoever that she's with, and she does what we do. And that's not my girl. She's a social butterfly. She loves her friends. She loves to get out and see people and experience what it means to be a kid. So our entire goal for Kendall and Friends has always been to eventually have some sort of facility that is designed and modified for individuals like my daughter, because they will never get the opportunity of going to adult day programs like a lot of our other ones do. So we kind of started out on this mission in 2017. We were approved as a nonprofit, and like I said, we've been kind of going around helping different communities get their playgrounds and try to become more inclusive. But as the time has gone on, you know, you'll hear me say I don't just have 6 children. I have 50 and 60 kids, because everybody that is on our Kendall and Friends baseball team, everybody that comes and hangs out with Kendall and Friends, they're my kids. So Kendall is in 5th grade, but I have some kids that are getting ready to phase out of the school system that have nowhere to go and nothing to do once they graduate, because they don't have a facility that is designed for them. So rather than waiting 10 years from now to do this, we started focusing on that now, because we have individuals that need it now. Our facility is honestly just very cut and dry. It's very easy to understand. We are going to be an all-inclusive facility that will be open to the special needs community on a daily basis, that we'll have different rooms for education and to teach them about their life skills. And honestly, I think we need that a lot nowadays for our typical kids, because they've cut a lot of that out of school. But, you know, we have special needs individuals that are capable of going to the grocery store and going shopping and picking out ingredients for a recipe, but they don't have that opportunity because they don't have anybody to take them to do that. So we have been working very, very hard to design educational protocols for them so we can educate them even after school is over. But our facility will be 100% all-inclusive, so that children and adults of all abilities can continue to be a part of their community. In Kentucky, as you all know, we can experience all 4 seasons in one day. So we do have this big, beautiful, all-inclusive playground, but there are many days that we don't get to use it because it's too cold, it's too hot, it's been raining, and, you know, like Kendall, along with a lot of other special needs individuals, has a lot of issues with controlling their temperature. So if it's too cold, she goes into hypothermia. If it's too hot, she'll overheat and can have seizures. So there's just a lot of weather variances that keep them off of the playground. So our facility will actually have an indoor playground as well as an outdoor playground, so that during the winter months, they can have recreational exercise time. They can experience all of those activities year-long. We will have eventually an indoor-outdoor therapeutic pool. So Kendall is not potty trained, in a lot of our other kids that we service are not either, and it's not because they don't want to be, they just physically cannot be. But a lot of facilities that are around here don't have the type of filtration system to allow a child that does have to remain in the diaper, not a swimmy, to be in a pool. So in order for Kendall to have any type of aquatic therapeutic recreational time, we have to go all the way to Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and that's a 2.5-hour drive. So our facility will eventually have an indoor-outdoor aquatic facility that is designed and modified for children and adults that will never be potty trained. And then something that we also feel is really, really cool to us, you'll see there's a outline of a baseball field in the back. It is not the size of a major league field. We do not play at night. We don't need lights. It's a T-ball field that is 100% handicap accessible. It's all inclusive. It will have rubberized flooring. It basically, it's like rolling them on this carpet or hardwood floor. But we have been doing this league for 6 years now, right? I have to stop and think about it. For 6 years, whenever we first started, we had 22 kids that played. I say kids, and some of them are as old as we are, sorry. But we had 22 participants. Last year's league, we had over 100. So we need a facility that has an all-inclusive baseball field, because what we're used to playing on now is a coach pitch field at the park. And as you all know, rain does not go over well on a baseball field, especially when you have 200- and 300-pound wheelchairs that are rolling on it. So we have a lot of times where our players get to show up to the game and the field is in such bad condition because of the weather that they just sit and hang out, which is not acceptable for us. So we have done everything humanly possible to make this inclusive for them. But yeah, it will have that big, beautiful field on there as well. Like I said, it's the size of a T-ball field. It's not Major League Baseball, as much as we would like for it to be. But yeah, that's kind of what we do in a nutshell and what this proposal is. And we would love to answer any questions you guys have. I'm sure there are a lot of questions and concerns, and we would love to address all of those if we can. Don't everybody jump at once now. Yes, sir.
The conditional use permit is a geographical area, so we're approving CUP for the boundary that's shown on that exhibit. And that's the 4.796 acres. The CUP is giving permission for this facility to operate on that property. And you can see the different components of there, but if, tomorrow they decided to put in another type of facility in this location, I think it goes back to what the zoning ordinance allows as accessory uses. What would be typical accessory uses to, a facility like this, whether it be a pool or pool house or some other type of storage building or whatnot. Clearly, they've made a condition that the building cap would not exceed 25,000, so they have to kind of stay within that realm. Going back to typical accessory uses could be offices, meeting areas, food preparation, parking, health, athletic facilities. So adding the pool is not an issue as far as the conditional use permit. And it's kind of shown there kind of in that phase, because part of that would be indoors.
Yes, so actually part of that is actually already on, yes. Part of that actually is the indoor aquatic facility. And then, of course, depending upon how they maneuver all of that, the outdoor part will be added on. But I don't think that, Kendall, the outdoor part is not on there, right? For the aquatic facility, but the indoor is that second building in the middle on the other side of the parking lot. Yes, that one. Mm-hmm. So our goal would be where that indoor aquatic center is, it would open up to the outdoor aquatic center.
Will this be a 7-day-a-week facility?
That is our goal.
Yeah.
So right now. Yes, I was gonna say, it will not be like an all-day thing, but yes, like Sundays, we won't be there until after church, but it would be open to the community then. And then as far as, like the programs and all of that, that would be kind of like like the 9 to 5, 9 to 6 business hour, and then of course, we play games on Saturdays. Like I said, we're not there at 9 o'clock at night with big stadium lights playing baseball. We don't do any of that. Number one, I go to bed at like 8:30, so that's not going to work for me, and I've got to be there to run it. So it wouldn't be like an all-day, 24-hour thing. It would be like a normal business hour.
And what kind of utilization are you expecting at this facility? I mean, how many people a day would,
Honestly, it all just depends. So right now, within Kendall and Friends as a group, we service anywhere from 100 to 400 kids a year. We have times where we're really, really, really busy to where like we don't see each other at all, but like coming and going for about 30 minutes. Or we also have times where the weather's bad and we're slow and we may do 1 or 2 things a month. So honestly, it just depends on what we have open, available at the time. Because like I said, unless someone has about $5 million and they really, really, really believe in this and they want to write us a check, this is going to be a multi-phase thing. So it may be, that we do our baseball field first, and then a year we get funding and we do the indoor aquatic center and then the outdoors. So it would all depend on how much money we have at the time to build what we need. And then once it's fully open and we're running, if we get this done, let's say in 5 years, and everything is done, everything from A to Z, and we're running 7 days a week, it would honestly just depend on the community need. Because what we do is, and he'll tell you, if we see a need, if there is one child that needs to be serviced, we're going to make sure that they're serviced. So if we have to hire on more people so we can add another kid that needs services, then we would do that. So it really just depends on the community need at the time. And honestly, that changes every day sometimes.
so you've got 9 other facilities across the state?
We have 9 playgrounds, nothing to this
Nothing to
magnitude.
this,
No,
okay.
no. We don't have any indoor facilities. We don't have any aquatic facilities, anything like that. This has just been Kendall and Friends, our end goal. Has always been something that we wanted to make sure that we had done before Kendall turned 18 and she phased out of the school system. But like I said earlier, I don't just have 6 kids. I have 50 and 60 kids at a time, and I have kids that need these services now, and we have nowhere to take them unless it's 2 or 3 hours away. And a lot of our families can't do that. I mean,
So this is kind of a regional facility, not just a Danville facility, but servicing Danville,
right.
Harrisburg.
So right now, Kendall and Friends Foundation as a whole, about 34% of the people that we service are from Boyle County now. So they come to Mercer County, where we provide the services, our baseball league, our playground, all of that, all of the programs that we do, the all-inclusive events that we do are usually in Mercer County, just because that's Kendall's home, that's where we live. But about 34% is from Boyle. We have Garrett, Lincoln, Mercer, Anderson, Fayette, Jessamine, what's Frankfurt? Franklin County, Taylor County, Casey County. We have them, literally, they come from all over. So this would not only be something to add to your community, this is a tourism expanse too, because we bring them in. We have data over the last 6 years that show where we started versus where we are now. Whenever we started, we were literally 100% Mercer County, and now I want to say last year alone was during the pandemic, okay, where we were shut down and could not have events. We could not do these programs because we were in this huge pandemic. We serviced 117 individuals with disabilities from 17 different counties in 2020. So that grows every single year. I know we have added on 2 additional counties this year, and to be honest, I cannot think of them off the top of my head. I can get my computer out, but I don't know if there's Wi-Fi here, but I can do it if you need me to. But it's something that is going to help not just our kids here, but it's going to help a lot of people. And I think, we've kind of gone back and forth of where do we go, and we've looked at several different properties, and we've talked about it, we've prayed about it, and every single thing keeps coming back to this and here. And it's a centralized location to where it would be accessible for a lot of different families from a lot of different areas to bring to this community. Like I said, I live in Bergen, but it's a Harrisburg address. This is 7 minutes down the road from our house. It's something that we can get to very easily. And you'll find out if this is approved and we are able to move forward, but he can tell you, I don't do anything halfway. So this would not be just some random building that's put up and thrown together. This is gonna be something that's gonna last for generations and generations to come, because I want my great-grandchildren to be able to run this facility one day whenever I'm gone, because there's such a need, and we just don't see it. And I don't think people are being mean. I don't think they're being rude. They're just uneducated. They don't understand how many individuals don't have opportunities like this just to be a normal part of their everyday society. So our goal is to make that happen.
Ms. Claycomb, I don't mean to push the point too much, but it's
No,
an
no, you're
important one because the board has to find that this use won't cause an overburdening of traffic systems or public infrastructure. So I'm just trying to understand, are you anticipating this being a place for folks in the community to go 5 days a week and spend all day there? Will,
The educational programs, yes, it would basically be like an adult day facility for X amount of kids or X amount of adults that are there. There would not be 250 people going in and out all day long. It would be a 7 to 8 drop-off where we may have 30 individuals 1 month. A year later, we may have 60 individuals. It just kind of depends on the need at the time. And then for baseball, I will tell you, because that is open to everybody. Like I said, we have players from 17 different counties right now that play on our league that we're doing right now in this season. We play every Saturday at 10 o'clock. There may be 200 people there, but of course they're all coming in, their families and groups together. But that is a once a week type thing. And then all of our programs that we would be doing inside the facility, those are gonna be based on it's not gonna be just like a random person can show up and come in that day. It has to be, they're signed up, they're with the organization, they're there, we know that they're gonna be there 5 days a week for those services. But then we will have people that come in and out, but it won't be like Danville Walmart. It won't be like that.
okay, thank you.
The baseball games too, we only usually play 6 games a year.
A year.
Usually August through September, so that's not even a year-round activity.
Yes.
This be entered and exited on the same road, or like if you enter from Pleasant Avenue and exit from what I call Bergen Road or exit from Bergen Road?
So what we have, Steve, do you care to point? Yes. So this actually came from the State Department. They gave us that information that says this is the safest entrance for this. It is a one-way in, one-way out, from my understanding. Is that correct, Steve? I don't want to misspeak, but you go in one way, you have to circle around and come back. We have entertained the thought of making it a right turn only. We have entertained the thought of you having to go all the way around the facility, but it would be a one-way in, one-way out. And honestly, I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about that. This is not my area of expertise, or Kendall or whoever.
Say, as far as the access goes, the state, again, controls all those issues. There would have to be an encroachment permit sought from the District 7 office before they could put their entrance onto the property. This is the general location of where that kind of shows that entrance right here on their kind of conceptual plan. You can see when Danville Christian was developed, there's a decel lane, and, we're kind of, as Crimson's kind of describing here, there may be that the state dictates some type of improvement that has to tie in with their actual driveway. Maybe it becomes a right in, right out only. All those things are really to be determined by the state at the construction phase when they get to putting an entrance on that state road. So the radio station driveway is right here, and their proposed driveway would be just about in this general location. And once they get closer to construction, the state may shift it one way or the other, may make them share a drive, who knows? It's kind of hard for us to tell you exactly how that would work. But basically, it would be one access point Kentucky Highway 33, and as she described, their internal circulation would be, that it would be a internal, and there'd probably be, way in, way out, kind of, the travel way would be at least 18 foot wide under our standards. It could be wider, and obviously taper wider at the road. And with that, Kendall Wise is back here, be more involved with the site development or the site plan and knows more about access points and all that than obviously we would.
I'm Kendall Wise from Vantage Engineering. We put together this conceptual site exhibit.
And your testimony is accurate and true to the best of your knowledge.
That's correct. Prior to Kendall and Friends looking at this property, we were looking at putting a commercial retail store there for a developer. And we had preliminary conversations with. Sure.
He's not as short as I am.
We met with the State Highway Department, District 7 office about the location of the best entrance for the property. And this was just based on preliminary, a preliminary review with the state's engineer. This was where he suggested we place it, and all indications were that it would be approved, and the traffic volume for that use was going to be much higher than what they'll be using it for. So, as we get into design development plans and things like that, we'll obviously have to get a permit from the state, and it will have to meet all the requirements that they have for us. So I don't know that needs to be a concern for this body right now at this point in the review.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wise or the applicant?
Steve, as we were learning here, part of this will be during the day, participants will be there all the day, which to me sounds like daycare. That's one of the conditional uses in an ag zone. So my question is, is it more appropriate to consider it under community service or under daycare?
I think it's more fits the community service. So going back to the chart, daycare is a separate category where it's exclusively daycare. More like preschool, daycare, drop-off, teachers, maybe some playground facilities, but some, daycares are just indoors. Clearly, the community service is more geared towards a nonprofit, for-profit, nonprofit, community. Again, it could fit the daycare, but I think kind of when you read the zoning ordinance and look at what a community service is, and specifically, it fits more, and it's a little broader because there's some counseling and education and training, and we talked about therapeutic exercises at the pool, and and right there is the example, vocational training for persons with physical or mental disabilities. Clearly, that's part of their focus, and I think it fits that community service category better than the traditional daycare category, but a daycare could fall within that too. But I think the CUP option, when you look at the chart, again, there's several options. It just seemed to gravitate right towards that community service category. But it would fit in daycare, I think. But when they started to explain the athletic components and the fields, it just felt a better fit with the community service category.
Could include physical therapy?
Sure. Sure.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor of the applicant? Any more questions for the applicant or architect or I'm sorry, surveyor?
I'm not sure who this question is. I remember several months ago, we were looking at a warehouse that had several numbers of stories, and the question was, should we decide with respect to the word number of story, 6 stories, I think, versus the height?
Right.
And so that's my question. Would it be more appropriate for us in this CUP to talk about 6 stories, or glancing at the preliminary sketch here, would it be more appropriate to consider a building height?
I think that makes sense. I think the applicant kind of gave him some samples and said, look, we're not going to exceed 2 stories in height. Clearly, it probably might be more appropriate to put an exact building height, not to exceed 42 feet or 50 feet.
We're fine with that.
I don't know how tall that exhibit is height-wise.
Sorry. The only thing that we need for sure, 100%, is our indoor playground. We have to have 20-foot ceilings just to meet code. So other than that, that's really all that I'm aware of that we need. Our goal, or, you know, what we have talked about so far was on our, on part of that back building, we'll have the indoor playground, and then there will be a gym that is, you know, a normal-sized gym. And then above that would be a walking track. I'm not sure, and I can go back and look, I'm not exactly sure how the architect has that part of the building. It actually may be that front part of the building, I'm not sure. But I'm thinking about the rock in Harrodsburg, and it's not, I mean, it's not like 100 feet tall. I couldn't tell you. 50? See, I take his, you know, advice. He knows what he's doing, so 50 feet,
So what we'd be doing is,
yeah.
you're suggesting we substitute in the conditions where it says no building or property shall exceed 2 stories, we would just say 50 feet. Yeah. We talked about what a story was or wasn't.
Right.
When we were
We
talking
did.
about that. She just knew they needed some height in the front architecturally to make the building function. And we wanted to make sure there was some flexibility there as they got into their plans. But this is typically, and you saw the exhibit at your seat with a little more detail. This is what they hope to build and the pitch of that roof. I would hope it's 50 and not 51, that's all.
50, okay. And we're totally fine with that. And some backtrack to the road part, you know, that's not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is taking care of the kids. So we're gonna rely on the state to tell us what to do. If they say, you know, put this in, then that's what we do. We put that in because I don't know anything about that. So we'll take their word for it and do what, you know, what they advise. That's totally fine with us.
Any more questions?
This is for Steve. We're in an ag zone, so are there any, does the ag zone have any specifications about stormwater runoff? Because the plan we see here has quite a bit of impervious surface.
They will.
So in an ag zone, do we have to consider runoff?
The city, this is located within the city of Danville, so their stormwater requirements would still have jurisdiction. And their disturbance rate, I guess, what, over an acre, is that the threshold? That if they're disturbed over an acre, they're going to be required to turn in a stormwater management plan with the city of Danville. All that would have to be accommodated. But clearly, you can accommodate it easier in an ag zone where they're making a commitment, they're not going to cover more than 25% of the property in an impervious building, for example. So it's going to be a little easier to accommodate than a more intense commercial development. But the city of Danville would still have some jurisdiction there with stormwater and drainage.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Please state your name and address, and promise that your testimony will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge.
Charles Ferguson, Kingsville Road, Danville, Kentucky. I'm not in opposition, I just have a question, which will be true. I just want to know if the participants have to pay, even though it's nonprofit, do they have to pay, or is everything operated on contributions?
I'm sorry. I'm partially deaf in both ears, so. Do I need to go back up there?
Please.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so for our people that we take care of, we have been very, very blessed with amazing donors that honestly write a check and take care of everything. We do not charge anyone that we service anything. If people want to donate, like we have some families that they donate every year, they are more than welcome to do that. But everybody that we service, we do not charge a fee. It's free to everybody that we work with. Like I said, we've been very, very blessed with amazing donors. I grant write every day. It seems like we've been blessed to receive grants for just about all of the programs that we have done so far. And Lord willing, that always continues and we won't have to ever worry about funding. But that's a very great question, by the way. You'd be surprised how many people wouldn't think of that, and that's an awesome question. That really is. I'm very excited about that one. That's one I haven't gotten before. Great. Yeah. And if anybody has questions later on, I brought some cards that has my phone number on it. I am partially deaf in both ears, so if you have an iPhone, FaceTime me because I'm not going to be able to understand what you're saying on the phone. Or you can text or email, but yeah, I mean, we want you guys to be involved as much as possible and understand what we're trying to do. And there is a lot of truth to that saying that it takes a village. So we are more than happy for everybody here to get on board and help us make this possible.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I will close the public portion of the hearing and we'll move to deliberation. Pardon? Okay. Is there a motion to be made?
Motion.
With the only revision of the height requirements. And however Henry was to word that.
That would be to say that the proposed use promotes the public welfare by providing an amenity to an underserved population. It won't adversely affect the surrounding area for the reasons set out in zoning ordinance section 3.8.5, adding also that the proposed use is a low-intensity recreational use, and the applicant has shown a commitment to limit access and to coordinate with the State Transportation Department.
That is exactly how I was going to say it.
Perfect, right?
Yeah.
Is there a second? And a second from Mr. Lay. All in favor? And it passes unanimously. I just want to say I think this is great. I think this is a great thing for our community. And this will be something that'll set, our community apart from some of the surrounding communities. So I applaud your effort.
By all means, go ahead.
I will entertain that motion right now. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So-
Now, listen, I meant what I said. If you know somebody that wants to write a big $5 million check, or $1 million, we don't care. It is tax deductible.
Steve, you brought your checkbook, right?
I left it at home. Otherwise,
Hey, it would bounce all over Kentucky, is what I say.
Okay, that concludes the public hearings. Is there any old business? Any new business? Wait, did I skip? old-
No, you did not, Mr. Chairman. There might be reason to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation if the board sees fit to do so.
Okay. We need a motion for closed session? Is there a second? Discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, we've concluded our closed session. No action was taken. I'll entertain a motion to come back into regular session. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? And so we are now back in regular session. I think that was probably old business. Is there any further old business? Any new business? Or maybe that was new business. I don't know. It was business. Any announcements? And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? And we stand adjourned.